Welcome to today's town hall about the Dominguez Channel odor incident. I'm Helen Chavez, Associate Director with the Los Angeles County Office of Emergency Management. Today's town hall is about getting answers to your questions. We have a lineup of experts from both the county and the state that are here to bring you the most up-to-date information, and after they share their updates, they will then shift to a question and answer session so that we can directly hear from you and address your concerns. Now, a quick note, this town hall is meant for members of the public that are being impacted by this particular incident. If you are a reporter or a member of the media that has joined us today, please email your questions to our media inbox email. That address is pio@ceoem.lacounty.gov. We will also include that as a wrap-up at the end of today's session so that you have it. The questions that we will answer at the end of the presentation portion of today's town hall is going to focus exclusively on getting answers to the questions posed by members of the public and residents who are being impacted by this incident. And with no further ado, I'd like to first introduce Los Angeles County Supervisor Holly Mitchell, who is here with today's opening remarks for today's town hall. Supervisor Mitchell, the floor is yours.
Helen, thank you very much, and good evening, Angelinos. I appreciate you all being here. I know that you're looking for solutions to the problem that you all have lived with for the past 10 plus days, and that's our goal for today, to bring you information in this evolving situation and the resources that we're able to make available directly to you to get you through it. Again, the purpose of today's conversation and my expectation is that we're providing regular updates to the public and, again, resources to be made available to you. Let me just very quickly thank the county departments that are here today, the Office of Emergency Services, the county departments of Public Works, Public Health, Fire, the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and our city partners at the City of Carson, who participated in a joint press conference this past Sunday and have been involved in daily briefings. We worked very hard to do as much outreach as we could to make sure as many impacted residents would know about today's town hall. And so I'd like to thank Alert South Bay and to let you know that our office, along with our participants on this call, have done outreach to over 200,000 participants. If there is a family, friend, or neighbor who didn't know about it, I hope that you will reshare this teletown hall on your own social media. It's on my social media platform. Again, the goal is to get the information out of this evolving situation to as many people as possible. I want to hand it back over to Helen so you have the opportunity to hear directly from these department heads, and we can reserve as much time at the end for questions and answers. Thank you very much for carving out some time to participate today. Thanks, Helen. Back to you.
Great, thank you so much, Supervisor. Next, we are going to hear in a row from 3 different subject matter experts and speakers. First up will be Los Angeles County Department of Public Works Director Mark Pestrella. After he wraps up, we will hear from a state representative from the South Coast Air Quality Management District, Deputy Executive Officer Terrence Mann. And we'll wrap the presentation section by hearing from Los Angeles County Public Health Officer, Dr. Muntu Davis. Director Pestrella, the floor is yours.
There we go. Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much. Checking my sound. All good? Very good. Thank you very much. And thank you, Supervisor Mitchell, for your leadership and for hosting tonight. This is a great opportunity for me and my fellow colleagues from the county and from the state and local agencies to give the citizens of LA County that have been impacted by this incident some real-time information, telling you what we know when we know it, as promised. I appreciate again my colleagues from the responding agencies in this incident joining me to bring you the latest information, as I said. Now, as the Chief Engineer of the Los Angeles County Flood Control District, it's my first priority to protect you, the citizens of Los Angeles County. Normally, what we're involved in is protecting you from flooding and keeping those very dangerous storm flows from entering your properties. We're also very much into capturing water and saving it for reuse. Today, I'm coming to you as the chief engineer to tell you about an incident that's occurring within one of our channels, the Dominguez channel. Many of you probably did not know that name before, but unfortunately became very familiar with it over the last week or so as you experience what has become a very acute health condition, this rotten egg smell. So let me tell you a little bit about where this smell is coming from, what we're doing to relieve it, and what we're doing to hopefully relieve some of your pain as you go through this incident with us. The good news I have for you tonight is we have found a way we think is going to work to stop the odor, and we're going to go right to working on that right away, and more about that in just a second. Now, as I said, this incident has caused major disruption in the quality of your lives and many others in the South Bay area, centered around the Carson and West Carson area and beyond, the Long Beach area, Wilmington, and other areas. We've heard from many of you that you're smelling a rotten egg smell, that you're having symptoms like a sore throat, maybe irritated eyes, nausea. Some people have reported throwing up. A lot of things that indicate that this odor is much more than just a nuisance, but in fact, it's a health nuisance and an acute health. You're experiencing acute health conditions. There's nothing more that bothers me as the chief engineer that something we're maintaining, operating, is causing this for the citizens. So what we're doing about that, let me talk about it. We've been working collaboratively since October 6th to investigate and address this pungent smell. As I said, it's affecting many communities in the area of Dominguez Channel. Multiple agencies are responding to this incident and have been full force since the beginning of the incident, including my own department, the County Department of Public Works, the County Department of Public Health, the County Fire Health Hazmat Group, and as was mentioned, the South Coast Air Quality Management District. Beyond those, we're also working with state and federal agencies because of the jurisdictions that apply within Dominguez Channel. Now on the map, you'll see Dominguez Channel is a 15-mile long, and it provides drainage and flood protection for a watershed of about 70,000 acres. It's a fairly large watershed area, and its purpose of the channel is to drain that area and keep you safe from flooding, and also keep you safe from high tide and flooding. It discharges normally into the Los Angeles Harbor, but it isn't always flowing when we don't have rain events. What normally you see in there are nuisance flows from people washing cars, wash down from dry weather flows, and then also there's a tidal zone where the tide pushes its way up into the channel. And so we get a mixing, if you will, of salt water and fresh water, and sometimes not so pretty, urban runoff that gets in the channel. The area that we're talking about that's been impacted is actually an area that's protected by the federal government, and it's designated as a water of the U.S. This means it has special protections, and that's because this area is known as an intertidal zone in which estuary plants will grow. And so although you can't see in this picture because it's underwater, there are many, many types of plants that grow here that are beneficial habitat for sea life and other forms of life, and the vegetation is unique to those zones. It's protected, as I said, by the federal government and also the state government and our local agency here, LA County Flood Control. This means that I do not clear the area below the water line here. We clear and maintain the area above that, and you can kind of see in this section that the normal maintenance that we do is at the top of the channel and along the edge, keeping things from growing in, keeping rodents out of this levee so that it doesn't lose its strength to hold up against water that comes up the side of it when there's major flows. Now, since the event, there have been a specialized team of scientists and engineers working for me in coordination with the fire hazmat, have been aggressively working to investigate the cause of this incident and identify potential sources and implement short and long-term actions that can take care and mitigate these conditions. What we found, what originally teed us off that there was an issue, is that we found high air quality tests that included elevated levels of hydrogen sulfide in the air. This is decomposing organic material in the channel appears to be the source. And we'll talk about how that happens. When we talk about hydrogen sulfide, what hydrogen sulfide smells like is this what you're smelling. It's sort of a rotten egg smell. People have described it as many different ways, but the common thing we hear is rotten eggs. Now, what happens in the channel to produce hydrogen sulfide is that organic material and surplus nutrients, stuff like fertilizer and natural occurring nutrients that get into the system, they, and the tidal zone, they start to produce a bacteria that feeds anaerobically. And that means it does not use oxygen. And that kind of anaerobic digestion is a natural process in which the microorganisms break down the organic materials. As these materials break down, they release hydrogen sulfide into the air. And this, again, is a natural system that does smell rotten. And I think the residents around there probably have experienced this previously, but certainly not to the extent that you're experiencing right now. The extent of it and the persistence of it and the strength of the smell have really been a curious thing for us at LA County Flood Control District. For my 35 years in the district, we have never had an incident that lasted this long, for instance. And so we started to ask ourselves, what's causing the problem? What could it be that would create this kind of incidence for this long? We knew one for sure, that we haven't had rain in a long time. So the flushing effect of rain coming down the channel has reduced its ability to naturally flush out this vegetation and therefore knock down the odor smell. We also know that we had high tides that were bringing in organic materials and trapping them in the channel as well, and they were also dying off. And then our data and our testing over the last week showed that, unfortunately, the entire reach of the channel down here around Avalon is considered essentially dead because there is no oxygen, dissolved oxygen within the water. This makes the water look very black. It smells pretty bad, really bad. And again, it's releasing the hydrogen sulfide. Again, because of the intensity of it, along with my partners at Fire and AQMD, we've been testing the air all over LA County to find out where is this coming from, what the source could be. We've landed back at this channel. And what we suspect is that there has been some form of discharge to the channel upstream that has aggravated or increased the anaerobic digestion that's going on. Why do I think that? I think that because as a scientist, as an engineer myself, when you measure the amount of smell that's coming out of here and the volume of hydrogen sulfide being released, you've got to have something more than just our regular die-off. So what we're doing about that is we're actively investigating all sources of flows from upstream in the channel. And in fact, we found a couple illicit discharges that we're concerned about and we're following up on. These discharges may have accelerated or added to the hydrogen sulfide that we're all smelling. Now, the good news is that our scientists at Public Works and the scientific world have come together to figure out a solution to this odor other than just letting it naturally go away. Here's a section of the channel here that you can see. If we cut the channel right down the center, you'd see this is what it looks like. The bottom is actually soft, meaning that it has no concrete in it, and it allows for the vegetation to grow up. What we're going to do is we are going to come in with a specific spray called Epoleon, E-P-O-L-E-O-N spray, and also drip, and apply it on the surface of the water that you see here. This product is made specifically, it's a water-based product comprised of organic biodegradable products, and it is environmentally friendly and used in landfills, ponds, and industrial facilities for this very purpose, to convert hydrogen sulfide essentially to a salt, thereby knocking down the releasing of hydrogen sulfide to the air. The byproduct, as I said, of the chemical reaction is salt deposition, which will be removed later in another operation that we plan in the future. This will occur, you will see as early tomorrow. In fact, I've been just texted that you will see my staff out in the field tomorrow applying the solution to the surface of the water. We anticipate that this application, along with aeration, placing air, actually injecting air into the water, oxygen into the water, will accelerate the remediation, and will ultimately reduce the smell and the annoyance of the hydrogen sulfide. I expect that you will see some difference in what's going on for the next 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days. We'll be measuring it closely. We'll be seeing how it works. And that action will take, as I said, immediately. In the long term, there's a bigger project that we planned and been thinking about for a long time in this area. And I'm delighted to tell you that we have decided, not only because this situation occurred, we think it's about time that Dominguez Channel got its due. And so LA County Flood Control District is going to be sponsoring an environmental restoration project for this section of the channel, in which we will remove the muck and the dead vegetation. We will remove the salts that get put in here, and we'll restart the channel, restart the vegetation, along with our federal and state partners, hoping for a silver lining to the whole thing. It's just such a shame that this has happened to such a lovely area, which has so much potential for environmental experience for the community and especially the children. We've talked long and hard about public access to the area and known that it wasn't a place that people would typically access. And what we're hoping that is the restoration of this area into a healthy estuary will be some consolation for what you all have had to go through over these last 2 weeks. In the meantime, we're very concerned about your health, as I said at the beginning. I personally have heard stories from a number of residents and heartbreaking stories about how you've been impacted. Everything from children not being able to go to school, to seniors having to be locked up inside the home, to people going to work and actually being impacted at work. I'm sure we'll hear some more stories tonight, and I'm going to be here to listen to those. As a matter of mitigation, LA County Flood Control District, sponsored by the County of Los Angeles, will be providing a remediation program for everyone who's been impacted by this odor. The program consists of 3 options that you can take advantage of. They include option 1 for homes with heating and air conditioning systems. The county will reimburse households for filter inserts for those systems that are HEPA rated with activated carbon or other filters recommended by the County Department of Public Health. And you can find out which filters those are by going to our website, which we'll provide in just a second. For option 1, we'll be providing $60 per unit per household. We've checked this price and found that it's actually a generous number for filters to be replaced. And if you're not sure how to replace the filter in your air conditioning or heating unit, we're happy to provide you guidance on how that can be done. Option 2 is for those homes that do not have an HVAC system or prefer an air purifier, a mobile air purifier. We have chosen a HEPA filtration system that utilizes activated carbon or other filtration system recommended again by the Department of Public Health. For this system, the limit of reimbursement will be $400 per household for homes 1,000 square feet or smaller, and $800 per household for homes above 1,000 square feet. Receipts are required for reimbursement within 21 days of the purchase. So let me just describe option 3, and I'll give you some other details about the program. Option 3, the county will reimburse a household for 1 hotel room in Los Angeles County up to $182 per day, and hotel self-parking for 1 vehicle per day. Meals and groceries will also be reimbursed at the rate of $66 per day for each person currently residing full-time in the household who have been relocated to the hotel. Receipts again are required for the hotel parking, but not for the hotel and parking, but not for meals, groceries, or incidentals. Now, to get information or to actually apply for this reimbursement, as you can see on the screen, we'd like you to dial 211 for further details on the program. In our initial response, the public may have seen other ways to contact us. We've given other numbers out. But the 211 helpline is your call-in number. If you call the old numbers, you will get a response, but I really do recommend that everyone use the 211 hotline because of its capacity to take a high volume of calls, and you will get a real person on the line that will listen to what your situation is and guide you to the reimbursement program or other information that's available through my partner agencies to allow you to mitigate for the situation. Also, our department is sponsoring a community outreach vehicle on site 7 days a week at the Carson Community Center from 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. to answer health questions and assist residents with reimbursement process. The address is 801 East Carson Street, East Parking Lot. And then lastly, you can also visit our website for this event at lacounty.gov/emergency/Dominguez channel. I know we'll be putting that up on the screen eventually, Helen, so you don't have to write it down here, folks, but we'll get that up to you. And it's a very good site for you to go to because it has it's specifically focused on this incident and has a full set of resources for you to look at, including a link to our reimbursement program. It's important for you to know that health and sense of well-being is very important to the county, for you, is so important to the County of Los Angeles, as is the equitable distribution of the resources that we just talked about. So one last thing I want to mention to all of you who are watching tonight. As Supervisor said, there are many people who haven't called us. There are many people who probably have not heard, but who may be suffering through this ordeal. Would you help us, please, by letting others know that these resources are available to them, by forwarding our resource numbers, and by putting out the word on social media that this program is available to them? We are looking to reach out to anyone and everyone we can that's been impacted by this, and we are leaning in with full resources to take care of you. Thank you, Helen, and I'll pass it on to my counterpart.
Good evening. My name is Terrence Mann, and I'm the head of enforcement at the South Coast Air Quality Management District, or South Coast AQMD for short. We are the local air quality regulator for major portions of Los Angeles County, as well as Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties, covering an area that's home to about 17 million people. There are a lot of things that South Coast AQMD does as part of our mission to clean the air, such as issuing air quality permits for equipment, creating rules, conducting air monitoring, and having our inspectors investigate potential violations and taking enforcement as appropriate. Responding to public complaints regarding air quality concerns is also fundamental to what we do. And that's really how this investigation started for us. We first became aware of this issue on Sunday, October 3rd, when we received a handful of complaints, less than 10, in Carson. We deployed an inspector on Sunday and looked into the matter. However, we didn't identify a source, and it did not seem to be of the magnitude that it later became. The numbers started to climb on Wednesday, and when they reached over 100 complaints, and then we started receiving over 200 complaints per day from the public for 6 straight days, with a high of approximately 580 complaints on Monday, October 11th. Callers, as has been noted, callers described a sulfur or rotten egg type odor, and South Coast AQMDs are familiar with that as corresponding to hydrogen sulfide, or H2S. Normally, we would anticipate our investigation leading to a facility, some type of plant or building that has processes going on. But instead, every time our inspectors' investigations led to the Dominguez channel. It's at that point that we started to connect with our agency partners, and we've continued to work closely with LA County Department of Public Works, Public Health, and then also LA County Fire Hazmat. Now, overall, we've received over 2,300 complaints for this incident. Although after that high of over 500, the complaints dipped a little bit. We received another 200 complaints today. So, on behalf of my agency, I just want you to know we know that this is an ongoing issue, that you are going through something very real, and that there are a lot of people who are hurting from this. I myself went out into the field last week upon our discovery of it, and this is tough. And so, we want you to know that South Coast AQMD is there, our inspectors are there, and we want to continue helping out. I want to note that in addition to Carson, there are other communities being impacted. We've received complaints from everywhere from Gardena, Harbor City, Hawthorne, Lomita, Long Beach, Redondo Beach, Torrance, and Wilmington, and some complaints, a small smattering of complaints from other places as well. We continue to be fully deployed in the field. In addition to responding to complaints, our inspectors are taking handheld H2S measurements. We're collecting ambient air samples and sending them to the lab for analysis. And we're conducting our own odor surveillance. We are trying to find these smells ourselves. And so we want the community to know that we are focusing on schools, senior centers, and similar areas where the most vulnerable members of the community reside. So if we could put up, I think you put up the first slide a moment ago. Could we see our first slide? There we go. This is what we refer to as a heat map, and it shows the areas where we have received the highest volumes of complaint over the period listed there, October 3rd to 12th. And we want to know, first of all, I want to note that this is meant to help. This is a tool. This is not meant to exclude everyone. If your neighborhood does not show high numbers here, we understand people work, people have lives. You don't always have time to call. And so this is not being used in any way other than to try to guide us to take further investigative action in certain places. So the yellow means a small number of complaints. The orange means more. By the time you get to red, that's 20 complaints from these areas. And the purple and blue numbers, now you're getting up to 40, 50, 60 complaints. This area over to the right that shows a lot of blue and purple, that's the Park Villa community. And that's an area that we've given special attention, on top of everything else we're doing. And we've put a fixed monitor at that location. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Next slide, please. So I mentioned our inspectors. We have devices to conduct handheld measurements. We're continuing to do that, but we also have our monitoring team. They have a mobile monitoring platform. It's like a van, basically, that has all this equipment on it. And we are driving different routes throughout the community to try to identify where these H2S, hydrogen sulfide readings are highest, and trying to use that, as appropriate to let our agency partners know, maybe we should go take another look. Maybe we should reach out to this community, working together to try to help you. These are the results that were taken over a 3-day period. These efforts are continuing. Our mobile platform was out, I believe, yesterday at 6:30 in the morning, taking measurements in the Carson area. This morning at 7 a.m., they started in Long Beach. Another area that's been impacted, Long Beach, for example, we've received 125 complaints from residents of Long Beach. And so they are included within our investigation area. And we are continuing those efforts. Also, it's worth mentioning that the mobile platform, one of them, is able to identify other types of compounds. And so we've looked at what are known as volatile organic compounds, VOCs, and certain toxic air compounds, such as benzene. These are pollutants that would be associated with an oil spill or an event at a refinery or some other type of petroleum-related event. We have not found any evidence of that. We felt it was important to let the community know. We have not found any evidence of any kind of oil spill or refinery upset. And next slide, please. So lastly, I want to point out that our efforts, the efforts I've described, are in addition to the fixed monitoring system that we already have in place. And so there are a number of blue dots here that are indicative of community monitors that we've set up as part of our programs. In addition, each of the major oil refineries has a fence line monitoring system. These detect, among other things, H2S. And so we are using all of this data together to evaluate what is happening. If we see a high value at one of these monitors, we will go to that location with a team of inspectors, take our own measurements, and evaluate the situation. If we need to alert a local school or bring in the fire department, we will do that. And so to date, we haven't, although we have seen elevated levels and we have deployed, luckily, there have been no major actions that have had to be taken, but we will remain vigilant in that regard. And I will also note, if you see where it says Park Villa there, the green dots refer to temporary monitors that we've put in place. The Park Villa monitor right there was put in yesterday. It's been running since yesterday morning continuously, and we are obtaining data from that, which we will use with these community monitors to provide to our agency partners, especially the Department of Public Health, and hopefully to be able to assist in this effort. So in conclusion, South Coast AQMD is committed to this effort. We are fully deployed. We are using every tool in our arsenal. Our agency is fully engaged, and we're going to be there. We're not going anywhere until this incident is over. Members of the community can continue to make air quality complaints at our complaint hotline, 1-800-CUT-SMOG, or at our online complaint portal at our website, www.aqmd.gov. Thank you very much. And with that, I will hand the microphone to Dr. Davis.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Thank you, Supervisor Mitchell, for pulling this together, providing our opening remarks. Mr. Pestrella and Mr. Mann, I appreciate the partnership during this time. trying to respond to this event. I want to say good evening, everyone, again. We, as the Public Health Department, I am the County Health Officer, have been working very closely with SC AQMD, as well as County Fire Hazmat and our public health staff, just in terms of monitoring this event, looking at the readings that have been coming in, and trying to understand and prevent the health impacts that may come from this. Now, I know that many of you have been receiving symptoms related to this in terms of when the odors are there, and it's been very inconvenient. We recognize that. And it's not just in the area around the channel, but in surrounding areas. Now, many have talked about the fact that we have declared this as a public nuisance and provided a public health directive to the Department of Public Works. But our declaring it as a public nuisance is because it was sufficiently pervasive and causing symptoms, but not at a level that would be an emergency in terms of the levels that have been detected in residents and those in the nearby community. And given the fact that it wasn't clear how long this would go on, we felt it was prudent to ensure that there were measures in place in order to help people who were experiencing symptoms in terms of providing the support that is being provided by our Department of Public Works, as well as to allow people to have the chance to really get out of the area if they needed to, just based on the symptoms that they were experiencing. Now, calling this a public nuisance in no way diminishes the impact of the odors and what they're causing, nor does it diminish the seriousness with which our departments are working to resolve the odors and to lessen the symptoms that many of you are experiencing. As we continue to conduct air samples, this is sort of an ongoing thing. One of the difficult natures of this is that the odor has been fluctuating. Even though it's at a low level and not toxic at the concentrations that have been measured, they have been fluctuating and intermittent. Sometimes the odor is not there, sometimes it isn't there, and I think many of you have experienced that. Knowing that hydrogen sulfide, being a colorless gas, you can't see it coming, can come from many sources. We really do appreciate the information provided by AQMD just in terms of looking at other sources, including petroleum or natural gas facilities like for refineries and other industrial sources, which would have raised the level of concern given the additional compounds that do come from those sources when there are leaks of that nature. Knowing that at this point that hydrogen sulfide can come from decay of organic matter, looking at the measurements that have been reported to us and seeing that those measures are highest above the channel, that led us to really understand that this is the most likely source of this rotten egg smell. And what I do want to note is that, you can smell low concentrations in the air with your nose as low as 0.005 parts per million or ppm. Some of you have heard the measurements of part per billion, and that converts to 0.5 parts per billion. Now that's a really low level, and even at those low levels, or even above those slightly, that can cause symptoms of the headache, the irritation in the eyes, nose, and throat and lungs, and those symptoms could be accompanied by dizziness, nausea, vomiting, or abdominal discomfort. Now, the good thing is that those symptoms should be short-term. They should go away once the odor subsides or you move out of the area and the odor is no longer present. And the levels that we've seen thus far, inconsistent in the nature and fluctuating in their nature, have not been at a level that are expected to cause irreversible health effects. So that is something that we're continuing to watch as every event can evolve. Again, the symptoms that we're seeing as our staff are on the ground, going door to door, providing information and answering questions and talking about resources that are available. We're hearing about those same symptoms that I mentioned, and typically with most people, they resolve and are short again as the odor goes away, or when the person moves out of where the odors are present. Now, I do want to note that people can have worse symptoms, especially if they have underlying heart or lung conditions such as asthma or COPD or heart disease. So do be careful And for those who may be experiencing persistent or worrisome or even worsening symptoms, you should seek medical attention, again, especially if you have an underlying health condition, and consider relocating to another area until the odor goes away. Again, at this time, what we're seeing should not cause any irreversible or disabling health effects, again, at the levels we're seeing, but we do continue to monitor. Now, if anyone is feeling life-threatening symptoms and they feel, it's super worrisome, do seek immediate medical care, okay? While the effort to get rid of the odor continues, we have recommended, as has been mentioned, taking the following actions to lessen symptoms and protect your health, as well as that of your family and your pets. When the odor is present, keep your doors closed as much as possible. And if you notice that there's a routine nature or a certain time around which the odors may start to show up for you, close your doors and windows before that time in order to prevent the outdoor odors from entering into your residence or your business. It is fine to air out your home or business when the odors are not present. But if you need to, if you have central heating or ventilation or air conditioning or HVAC system, determine the size of filter inside of your system and whether or not it can be replaced. And replace it with something that is called a high efficiency particulate air, or HEPA, or a MERV rated, MERV rated filter with activated charcoal or carbon. This will help improve the air quality and reduce odors inside. And most of these are available online or at local stores that carry HVAC air filters. Again, you must choose the correct size for your system. Sometimes if you open it up and look at your filter, you can see the measurements on the side of the filter. Usually they're prominently marked. You can also measure it and look for filters, again, that are designated as HEPA or MERV rated, and it could be MERV rated 8 or 6 or something. It may have a number right after it. The higher the value, the more more particles are removed when they're in your system. And again, look for filters with activated charcoal or activated carbon. They're one and the same. Those filters are commonly labeled as odor eliminator, odor control, or odor reduction. There may be other labels, but they do indicate that they help to reduce odors. For those of you who don't have a central HVAC system and you are experiencing odors inside and want to do something else, you can use a certified portable HEPA indoor air filter with activated charcoal to improve the air quality and improve the odors in your home as well. Now, we've provided some examples of this in our community update, and those are just a few examples. Those are HEPA indoor filters with activated carbon, and they're just a few examples, but we tried to go through, our staff diligently went through a list of over 4,000 and tried to pick some that were available either online or in local stores in order to make it easier for people to look through that. If you have pets, do keep them indoors when you notice the odors. And if you notice any of your pets experiencing symptoms of difficulty breathing, vomiting, moving a little slower than normal, or if they're nauseous or throwing up, do take them to see their local veterinarian. Again, if symptoms are persistent, worrisome, or worsening, consider relocating to another area until odors go away. For more information on protective measures to prevent odors from entering the home, and you can put up the slide so people can jot down this number. Residents can contact our community line at 626-430-9821. Again, that's 626-430-9821. Leave a message with your contact information and your call will be returned. That number is checked every hour between the hours of 7 and 10 p.m. every day and will continue to be while the odors persist. And with that, I'll stop. Thank you, and I believe we can start answering some questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Davis and all the panelists. We're now going to go into the question and answer, the Q&A section. This is going to be a lightning round. We want to get to as many answers as possible. I'm going to invite all of the panelists, any of you that may be offering an answer, please appear on video right now, and I will be either directing the question to a particular person, or you can raise your hand if I'm not calling upon you, if you want to take it, and we'll start rolling with that. To the members of the public, so thank you. The questions now that I'm going to begin to go through, you've either emailed them or you've submitted them via our social channel. So thank you for that. Let's go ahead and get started. The very first question, I think, is what's on the top of the mind, and I heard Mr. Pestrella, you talk about this. How long is it going to take to remedy this situation? I know you addressed it, but if you can just touch on that quickly.
Surely, no problem. In fact, I'm happy to report that I expect within 3 to 5 days, you will notice a noticeable difference in the odors that are emanating from Dominguez Channel with the application of our particulate that we're going to put on top of the water, and then even increasing or decreasing further the odor by percolating and aerating the water. You'll see this bubbling, the system of bubbles across the water. That'll be implemented on Monday. So tomorrow we'll start the spraying, and Monday we'll start the bubble aeration, and then we will be down there. And I'm really hoping that this creates a very, very distinct difference in the odors. Like I said, anywhere from 3 to 5 days from now.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Director. Next question. Why is the smell worse at night? Is that someone from maybe Public Health or Public Works that would like to take that? Show of hands.
Well, so what we understand, a lot of it depends on what happens with the wind. A lot of it depends on whether or not the tide is low or high. It's just the changes in the environment, that can allow for things to stay in one place, a gas to stay in one place for a little bit longer or concentrate a little bit easier. But I think the team has noted that when it's low tide, it seems to be stronger, and definitely at night during those times, that's usually when low tide is going to start to be in place.
Very well, thank you. So there's a connection there with low tides. Interesting, thank you. Next question, is drinking water safe? Is it okay to drink water from the faucet? Public Health.
Oh, Dr. Davis?
Did you want to take it as?
I would just start out by saying this is not drinking water that you see in the channel. We do not use this or serve this as drinking water, and it is not used, even if it infiltrates its way to groundwater, that water is highly treated before it's ever served to the public. So this problem we're experiencing is not going to drinking water supply. I'll let Dr. Davis answer that further if you'd like to.
Nothing further to add. I mean, if there was a risk in drinking water, we would bring that up, but there's nothing that has indicated that drinking water, would be an issue. And as Mr. Pestrella talked about, drinking water is treated highly before it gets to the tap inside your home.
Great, thank you. Next question. So as part of the way to resolve or to remedy this problem, will artificial chemicals be used to fix this? I know, Director Pestrella, you talked about a little bit that topic already. You are on mute. We can't hear you.
Another fail on Zoom. As mentioned earlier, we're going to be using a biodegradable, environmentally friendly product that has been proven and approved by FDA, by the way, for this use in these applications. And it's been used widely in the sanitary sewer world. And it's actually been used by our partners in Orange County in similar scenarios in open channels. So we're very comfortable with what's being used as an approved product for this purpose.
Excellent, thank you. Next question. So really, how concerned should we be about being exposed to this, having been exposed to this for multiple days for a prolonged amount of time, a longer amount of time? Who'd like to take that?
This is Dr. Davis. I'll start. I think that's one of the concerns we have, even at these lower levels of concentration that we're seeing. Again, not at the levels that would say there's an immediate emergency that people need to evacuate. There are questions about how long, especially consistent low-level exposures. Now, in this instance, it's really been fluctuating. Sometimes there's nothing, and sometimes there's something. And again, still at non-emergent levels. But over time, that is one of the worries in terms of could we get into that zone of where there may be public health impacts. I think one of the good things about this is that it is really fluctuating and sometimes not there at all. And so it would be a higher concern if it was just a consistent odor, consistent exposure and that would be a big worry. But that, again, is one of the reasons why we determined this to be a public nuisance, because we want to not get to that point where we are worried about this being a chronic exposure that could have some more severe impacts.
Okay, thank you for those words. Next question here. So exactly how often is testing occurring? AQMD, Terrence, do you want to take this one?
Yes. Our inspectors are using handheld monitors and are out every day, including starting early in the morning at around 7 o'clock when community members have advised us that they are smelling these odors. In addition, the fixed monitors that I described, the community monitors, and also the temporary monitors that we've set up, as well as the refinery fence line monitoring programs, are continuously gathering information. And so they will receive significant data, and that's available on our website, the community and refinery information. But we're going to post everything. Hopefully by tomorrow, we will be posting a lot of this data for the public to review.
Excellent. And a follow-up question also for you. There's a question about, so is there a safety plan for schools? I know that you had touched upon schools. Anything you'd like to add?
Yes. When we deploy to schools, whether as part of our normal surveillance or when we receive a call from a school, we take measurements. And if those measurements are elevated, we will contact immediately LA County Fire Hazmat, who will then coordinate with the LA County Department of Public Health. And then we take action as appropriate.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. And now we're going to talk about reimbursement and getting help to people who need it. The first question here, so what types of items are reimbursable? Would like to take that, perhaps Public Works?
Yeah, so there are 3 levels of mitigation that we're talking about. The first is what Dr. Davis spoke about. He very eloquently and gave you good specifics, and that's actually a filter that goes into your heating and ventilation system, HVAC system. And this is a common filter that is found in Home Depot, online, wherever. Dr. Davis gave some nice specifications regarding it. We have some examples on our website for what we're reimbursing, and we're reimbursing those at $60 per filter per unit. So if you have more than one unit in your home, you can make more than one claim for the reimbursement. Second level is spoken about also was a portable unit that has the specifications again that Dr. Davis gave. That unit is being reimbursed at $400 per unit for homes 1,000 square feet or less, and $800 for homes more than 1,000 square feet. Again, we shopped these and found them readily available. We looked at the pricing of them, and we believe that the price that we're providing here is a generous price for what you'd be shopping for, and more importantly, an effective device. And then the third level is a level that we also are providing, and that's this relocation. If you have a situation in which maybe you're a renter, you can't alter the ventilation, you don't have control of that situation, or you just don't even have an HVAC in the home and you prefer to be relocated for a specific amount of time, we will relocate people at a rate of $182 per day, and with a per diem of $66 per day, as I spoke about in my presentation. Again, I want to just jump on real quick here and tell everybody, please use 211 helpline. Mention the Dominguez Channel odor incident, Dominguez Channel odor incident at 211, and the folks there will guide you right to our resource page and get you going.
Really quickly, Helen, I do want to note that the ones that we've listed on our community notice are less than $400. Our team took a look and tried to make it easier for folks to find. So the ones on there are less than $400.
Great, thank you. And we're going to keep, just for the members of the public that are tuned in, we're going to keep this slide up for a minute just so that you have the information to help you at your fingertips. Next, can businesses submit forms? Who'd like to take that?
Yes, this is Mark, and businesses can submit forms for your cost, and we encourage you to apply just as we would residential property owners. Same process. Call 211, let us know who you are, fill out the form fully, and we'll consider your application.
Very good. Now, there's some members of the public that are commenting that certainly the model that's being discussed to help people, it's a reimbursement, meaning you pay for it first and then you get paid back. What about, the question is, what about people that can't afford to pay for either the item or the hotel stay up front? What would your advice be for them?
Yes, thanks for the question. And we absolutely want you to apply. There'll be a section in the application in which you can indicate that you're in this situation, and we will consider purchasing that for you up front and delivering it to you.
Very good. Thank you for that. So just for the members of the public, a point of clarification, there is a way to help you if you can't afford it up front. Thank you. All right, next question. How do we submit forms? So you have in front of you the different information about how you can go ahead and meet that. Next question, how long does it take to be reimbursed?
Yeah, so I'm going to turn to someone who may know, but I'm understanding that you're looking at something like a 21-day turnaround, but I'm going to ask a staffer who's online if he knows the answer to that yet. Mr. Lilly?
Yeah, thank you. So this is a two-part process. We've heard from a number of people that they want, before they go buy that item, they want that assurance that indeed they are going to be reimbursed. So they'll fill out that form, and that day we'll get back to them. In most cases, it's possible we'll get back to the next day, but within 24 hours, they'll be able to purchase that item. And then we request that within 14 days, they submit the receipt for that item, and we will process that, as the director said, within 21 days. Likely sooner is our target.
Great, thank you, thank you. I know a lot of effort is being put by the partners on the call to try to get people help as quickly as possible. Next question, I believe we had heard from our AQMD representative that there was other communities that have been complaining, such as I've heard Gardena, Lomita, Redondo Beach, etc. So the question here is there testing happening in these other cities and communities where the smell can be smelled?
We do have community monitors in a number of these areas. So the answer is yes. In addition, our inspectors are not limiting our operations only to Carson, although that is the focus. And recently we paid a special focus, paid special attention to Long Beach in light of a number of complaints received there.
Okay, thank you. And a related question, do surrounding residents or people that live in surrounding cities, do they qualify for reimbursements? Can they go through this process?
This is Mark, and yes, absolutely. We want to hear from you. If we haven't heard from you already, we are not restricting or drawing a line at this time of qualified entities. We are using my partner at AQMD's heat map to just guide us, but that's more about who do we need to reach out to, who we haven't heard from. So if you look at that mapping, you'll see it's not just limited to one specific community, but in fact, we're taking anyone that calls in and says that they've smelled this odor and been bothered by it. We encourage you to call in. At a minimum, you're going to get really good information about what's going on. And then we want to hear from you if you've been impacted by that. So we don't want to limit anyone from calling in and making an application for reimbursement.
I should know better by now. I do this for a living, sorry. So what I'm hearing loud and clear is that there is help available. If you feel that you've been impacted by this, contact us and the information's on screen. Thank you. Let's see, a couple final questions. We're about 4 minutes away from wrapping up this session. Here's the question. Will filing for a claim waive our rights to file for future claims or exclude us from pursuing further legal action?
No, it will not. It can never take that away from you. In fact, this is a different process. This is not a claim process that we're utilizing for. This is a reimbursement process. And we do separately have a claim process that exists in the county, and you're more than welcome to take advantage of both programs.
Excellent. Thank you for that clarification. A few more questions. Can we submit multiple claims, and are claims taxable?
Now we need a lawyer. Yes, you can make multiple claims if you forgot something, or for instance, if this persisted and you decided you had another level of mitigation you needed, we would certainly consider that. So there isn't a reason you can't make multiple claims. We are asking that you identify where you live, your property address, if you have one, so that we can quantify that we've actually paid you and that we followed through. But that does not stop you from making multiple claims or multiple applications for reimbursement.
Thank you. As members of the public, those of you that are tuned in, this is absolutely a two-way beneficial conversation. I heard you say, good thought-provoking questions. So thank you all that are contributing. The last few ones, actually, I'll conclude with this one because we're only about 2 minutes away. How will you prevent this from happening again?
Yes. Well, first, I want to thank the public for calling in today and watching this. Helen, thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Mitchell, so much. And thank you to my partners who I could not get this done without these agencies that you see here, everyone. Everyone's been pulling in the same direction. So how will this not happen again? First, it's important that you understand the process that took place at Dominguez Channel happens daily in every estuarian setting, and there are multiple of those settings throughout LA County, whether it's a bog or a small area that captures water, inland lakes, or along the ocean here where the water spreads out and flows into the ocean. The process of anaerobic digestion occurs naturally throughout nature. And so, you've probably been to the beach or in one of these areas and smelt something similar in the past. What we're going to avoid in the future, though, is having this intensive of an event. And, I'm suspect, and I talked about it earlier, that this wasn't totally natural, that we may have had some man-made effect that caused this to be more than a normal event that we had. We're investigating that. We're putting our best people on it. In fact, I have some regulators who are investigating very, very closely straight up the channel. We'll take lessons learned from this event, and we'll make changes to the way that we operate the channel so that in the future we aren't in this situation with all of you. And again, I want to send my deepest apologies to everyone who's been impacted by this. And let's all pull together and hope that this thing's going to be out of our way and not something you have to think about in after the next 3 to 5 days.
Thank you, Director Pestrella. And we don't have time. We're 1 minute away, but there was a series of questions that had to do with medical bills. Will medical bills be covered? Do you want to comment on that, or should we save that for a follow-up? We will be putting out, members of the public, we will be putting out additional information. We'll be updating frequently asked questions on the website, and the 211 operators will be able to help you. Do you want to comment on that, or should we?
I'd say that there's 3 prescriptive reimbursements that we detailed tonight, but that doesn't limit you in terms of what you might ask for money for. And you should go ahead and make application and explain what you're asking for. Save every receipt, please. Please do that so you can help us determine what makes sense and what's reasonable, and turn those in and hold on to those as this event goes on. But I'm encouraging you to make application for whatever the impact has been on you and your family.
That is wonderful to hear. Thank you so much again to everybody that has participated as a panelist. We have a group here of premier experts in their respective disciplines that are here to support, that are here to serve. So thank you to all of our panelists. And thank you to everyone that has tuned in. We've had up to 700 people join us via YouTube and the different channels. So great attendance. Thank you, members of the public, for your time, for your attention. And we, as a county and state entities, as a family, are here to continue to serve. So thank you for tuning in. We're going to leave up on the slide in front of you the different numbers that you can call that are here to support. And if you speak other languages or you're interacting with neighbors who maybe English isn't their first language, the 211 operators are available. They speak multiple languages. So multilingual help is available to you. That being said, it's 6 o'clock sharp. Go Dodgers. Enjoy your evening. Thank you again for tuning in. Signing off.